The ACC had a wonderful weekend. Wonderful. And especially if you consider like the long holiday weekend starting Thursday night, let's go through the entirety, if you will, of the ACC weekend. Thursday, primetime, NC State and Wake Forest, both dubs. Both get wins. Friday morning, finally the vote is made for Stanford, Cal, and SMU to join the league. Friday night, Miami and Louisville, both primetime dubs. Primetime winners. Granted, Louisville over Georgia Tech, so that one was going to be an ACC win anyway. But Louisville win, I think if you had to choose between the two, if you're just a generic ACC fan, Louisville would be the one you want.
Especially since Louisville was tied with Carolina in terms of odds to win the ACC this season, so yes.
Very much so. And Braum, I don't know, it felt like he needed it more than Key. Key was the interim guy last year. Anyway, Saturday, prime time, UNC beats South Carolina. Sunday, prime time, Florida State beats LSU. Monday, prime time, Duke beats Clemson. That is, granted, you'd probably, if you're just a generic ACC fan, maybe you'd want Clemson to win that game just because it might give you a slightly better chance to have a college football playoff team. But obviously, I think the Duke win just puts another, at least middle tier, possibly upper tier ACC team out there. And when the biggest criticism of the ACC in recent years has been that they're top heavy, how can you say they're top heavy now? You have teams winning all over the place. Which, by the way, this is just gonna grind my gears a little bit. The AP poll came out. This is an observation made by Brian Murphy, our friend, WRAL sports investigative reporter. At least 8 voters have Clemson ahead of Duke in their AP poll, including one voter, and I won't name names, but if I get mad enough, I might. Including one voter with Clemson at number 15 and Duke unranked. Let me get this straight. We are through 1 week. These voters think they are better at deciding who's a better football team than the final score.
Go ahead and name the names. Go ahead.
Well,
go ahead and name it. No, throw it out there. It's all public. Go ahead and say.
It is all public.
Call these stooges out for who they are.
I will. Now that you've encouraged me.
I'm very much encouraging.
Here's the one that I have the biggest problem with. Mm-hmm. It is Brian Fonseca from the New Jersey Advanced Media.
Oh, okay. Has
Clemson ranked 15th in the country. Has Duke, hold on, Duke is ranked 23rd. That's one I have a problem with. There's another one. Jordan Gusky is actually the one that I really want to call out. The Topeka Capital Journal. Clemson is 15th. Duke is unranked. Duke just, for lack of a better term, ran away from Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it wasn't they won by 1 point on some fluke. This wasn't Florida State beating LSU last year where you needed a block kick at the end of the game to come away with it. Mm-hmm. This was you were ahead by a couple scores, and then you scored again.
Yeah.
Right? You forced the turnovers to put the nail in the coffin, and then you scored again.
Yeah, you stuck it to them.
It's just hard to believe that type of thing would happen, especially because it's public. We're going to see this. We just watched. By the way, Monday night, there wasn't a ton of other games on. Everybody watched Duke and Clemson. If you're voting, that most of the country, if you're a college football fan, watched Duke wipe the floor with Clemson. Now you just showed up and said, even if you wanted to put Clemson slightly ahead of Duke, I might be able to hear that logic. If you're just like, it was a bad day for them, it was at home for Duke, and they pulled, it was a weird game, Clemson still outgained them, fine. I can hear that. But to have Clemson 15th and Duke unranked, you're that much smarter than the final score at deciding who won a game? You're that much better than football games are at deciding who's the better team? Here's Paul Feinbaum on the other side of things, right? Paul Feinbaum's always trying to attack the ACC. What does he do when just about everybody wins in primetime? He finds one of the teams that lost to another ACC team, and he declares them done.
Dabo's dynasty is done. What else can anyone say, Greeny? It's really been teetering for a couple of years, but what happened last night is simply unexplainable. This is now the third loss out of the last 4 games for Clemson, and quite frankly, I don't see any upside. And they didn't lose to a Florida State or a Notre Dame or an Alabama or a Georgia. They lost to Duke, which has a very good quarterback, a nice program, nice being the operative word. They have nowhere to go. And Dabo's nonsense after the game isn't going to impress anyone. This program is flatlining right now.
At the expense of other good ACC teams. It was a great weekend for what I call the Matt Stafford effect, helping the ACC. Now, I understand that I named my theories, and I haven't had the opportunity to explain the Matt Stafford effect, so I'll do this quickly. The Matt Stafford effect goes back to Matt Stafford with the Lions, because the Lions used to never play primetime games, but they play on Thanksgiving. So literally, Matt Stafford's entire seasons for casual fans would be decided by how he played on Thanksgiving. Right? If he threw for 400 yards on Thanksgiving, it didn't matter what he did the rest of the year. The consensus opinion on him was like, man, he's really good, but he's being held back by Detroit. Because no one was going to watch him on a 1 o'clock slate game. There were so many other options. Meanwhile, if he played poor on Thanksgiving, they'd go, wow, he's not as good as some people say. It was just the primetime game, the one a year that he played, decided what everybody thought of him because that's the only game people watched. If you only watch primetime games this weekend, you think the ACC is the best conference in the country because they were dominant against South Carolina, dominant against LSU, and Duke, who's seen as a bottom feeder, in the ACC, beat Clemson. You're thinking like, wow, the ACC is strong top to bottom. So it was a very, very good day when it comes to the Matt Stafford effect for the ACC.
Mm-hmm. Great weekend for the ACC as a whole.